I'm murdered. Yeah, yeah.
Up everyone, shake the stress that's killing you. Fancy footwork just like me, shaking over this dance floor. Throw your hands up everyone, shake the stress that's killing you. Fancy footwork just like me, shaking over this dance floor. Enjoy your life, be free, live life. Enjoy your life, have some fun, man. Enjoy.
Coming up on Mental Health Marty, listen, we are more than just angry black men. I'm so excited to have our guest with us today, Dr. Chris Williams. Please stay tuned. What's up, everybody? Yes, it's me. It's your host. It's your boy. It's your main man, Martina Sellers, your mental health hygienist, coming to you live and in living color in Southern California, where the sun is always shining. And y'all, we are about to go into spring. We're in the March Madness. And what I'm recalling March is March mindfulness, because we need to be mindful of our mind and mindful of our mental health. So March is all about being mindful. Why? Because we need to get better and improve. Your mental wellness is so important. So glad that you're here. Listen, get people some time. We're over on this YouTube platform now. Listen, because YouTube is the way to go. It's our friend. We want to make sure that you are up tuned on what's going on. So if you have not been a part of this family, welcome. If you found us by accident, welcome. If you found us by intent, we want to welcome you as well. Invite some people to join us on this YouTube channel, on this YouTube platform. We want to welcome those who are part of the Black Man Made Well. Good to see you. Let us know you're out there and that you're listening. We got a great show for you tonight, and I'm so excited about it. But let me get some introductions out the way. What are we and who are we? Well, I'm so glad you asked that question. Mental Health Marty is a psychoeducational program, and the purpose of this, we are not a substitute for you seeing your doctor, your therapist, your psychologist, your psychiatrist, your medical doctor, your pastor, any of those things. We are not a substitute, but we are a supplement to that. What are you saying, Marty? I'm so glad you keep asking me these great questions. What we mean is this. We are there to be a part of your treatment plan. We are there to be a part of your health and wellness plan. We are part of helping you grow mentally, physically, and emotionally stronger so that you can handle the weight that comes your way. We all experience some sort of mental wellness at some point in time. Some days my wellness is better than other days. However, if you're experiencing any type of mental health crisis or falling into the mental illness category, listen, we want you to contact your provider immediately. Go to your nearest urgent care or hospital if you're experiencing any type of psychiatric emergency. Why? Because we care about you and we want to make sure that you are heard. But if not, hey, stay tuned. Now, how do you get these notices on a regular basis? Well, we want you to participate. And how do we see your comments? By going to the Mental Health Marty YouTube page. You can put your comments in there. We will see them. We'll try and do our best to make sure we answer any questions, but we want to make sure that this is a two-way street here. If you have a question, let us know. We will do our best to answer it. If you love something we say, give us a shout out. Say, that's right. Come on, my brother. hands up. You got 5 on the comment, but not on the weed. But we want to make sure you do that. And then we want to make sure that you are liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel. But how are you doing? Yes. Hello, kingdom blessings to you as well. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining in on this Tuesday. Yes, Jerron, what's up, my brother? You know I got to have you back. Hope the fam is doing well. Yes, yes, yes. And hope that you got the love offering I sent out to you. Hope everyone is doing well out there. As my boy says in church, in video land, we want to make sure you're doing well and that you are living a great life. Today, our topic, I'm not just an angry black man. Wow. Too often, we as black men are often labeled as being angry, as if that is the only emotion that we experience. But I'm here to tell you, black men, we really do smile too. Black men, we really do know how to laugh. We know how to have fun. Can I even dare to say this? Some black men, we even know how to manage our emotions. Who'd have thought? But can we do it? Yes, we can. But however, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes a safe space in order to do that. Oftentimes, I'm a big proponent that oftentimes for black men, anger is also associated with some sort of depression, anxiety, because those are part of the symptomology. If you're looking at the symptoms of depression and anxiety, I will also go, what is bothering you? Not judging you, like not what's wrong with you, but what's bothering you? What's hurting you? What's causing you to react like this? What's causing you to be out of your normal character? Because we are more than just our anger. Anger has its appropriate place, but if that's the only emotion that we are experiencing, then there is a problem. So I'm so glad to have with us tonight to have this discussion about we are more than just our anger, and that black men, we do smile. We have a great time. In fact, we love life. And I want to help change the trajectory of the life expectancy of black men. We are part of the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to longevity in life. Why? Because we have some of the highest high blood pressure rates. Why? Because we have some of the highest stroke rates. Why? Because we have some of the most unhealthy registers, if you will, if I can do that. And we have to learn how to pay attention to our bodies when the signals are going off. It's more than just lifting weights. It's more than just getting in the gym and looking temporarily fit. And that's just really a small portion of us. But what about the average everyday man? How does he deal with pressure? How does he deal with stress? How does he deal with his blood pressure? How does he deal with anxiety? How does he deal with life? I'm so glad you asked, and we have an amazing person on here that's coming. This is his first time on the Mental Health Marty show, but let me tell you this is definitely not going to be his last. He stayed up with us to be with us tonight, y'all, all the way from Greensboro, North Carolina. I want to welcome none other than Dr. Chris Williams. Doc, how you feeling, my brother?
I'm great, man. I'm glad to be here, man. Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time, so I was super
Me and
excited
you
when you
both,
reached
man.
out.
Yes.
And
Doc, share
yeah,
with us who you are, what you do, your specialty, and why this passion for black men and their health.
so my name is Dr. Christopher Williams. Everybody
Yes.
calls me Chris. I only get called Christopher when I'm in trouble or something like that. I'm a physical therapist by
Yeah.
training, and I'm
Okay.
a certified health coach. And I specialize in dealing with how to manage your emotions, and
Love it.
particularly with people who have difficulty controlling their anger, or even working with
Yes.
people who are in a relationship with somebody who has anger issues, because that is also needed. And, I came by that really just from my own struggles personal experience
Mm-hmm.
with that,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the passion comes from. I think it's funny, like it was something that you kind of suffer in silence about, and
Yes.
then when you get along this path of enlightenment, you realize like
Yes.
you're not the only one who deals with this,
Exactly.
and I'm too tired of it. I feel like we need to go ahead and start talking about this. This is
Mm-hmm.
what was beneficial and helpful for me, and so I want to go out there and really help as many people as I can, because I
I
know
love that.
people. This is that thing like we all talk about, but nobody
Yeah.
does anything
Talks
about it,
about.
and I'm tired.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm with you, Dr. Chris. I am. I am. We talk about it, but we just talk about it on surface levels.
right.
And one of the things we talked about when we were doing at the early part of last month, the Black Man Made Well conference, we were talking about creating safe spaces for Black men to be able to be vulnerable. I know we don't like that word. It's almost as
We
bad as
don't.
the L word, love.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know. But Dr. Chris, why is it so important that Black men have these barbershop talks, these safe spaces where we can where bros can be bros, where we can do that and really share our experiences without fear of judgment? Why is that so important?
I I think it's important. I like how you use the barbershop reference, because you stole my stuff. I
Hmm.
was getting ready to go use that as well, because that's where we go. I had a coworker who said, I'm going to
Yeah.
go to the place where men go in and gossip, and he was like, I'm going to the barbershop. And especially
Hmm.
like with COVID first popped off
Yeah.
and it, and people weren't going to the barbershop, and people
Right.
stopped going to do those things. Like, you need
Yeah.
those safe spaces. And I'm
That's
so
good.
thankful for my friends, my bros, like, um, doing guys trips, having those safe
Yeah.
spaces where you talk about stuff. And it's funny, my
Hmm.
wife was like, y'all go there and y'all talk about your wives and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, I mean, we do, but we talk about a whole bunch of other stuff,
Right.
and it's so important, because for me, you realize like you're not the only one that's struggling with this, and
That
you're
part.
around some people that you love and that you respect, and then
Hmm.
they're going through it too, or they may have already gone through that,
Yes.
and they have some words that they can speak on it, or they can help shine that
Yes.
light on you. And too often, I think we are just so prone to just not say anything and just suffer in
Hmm.
silence, and that's
Yeah.
play. So
Dr. Chris,
that's
you're
all
taking
you
my
need, these
saying.
safe places.
Yeah, but I say, too often I say we secretly suffer in the shadow of shame.
Yes,
In that
I love
regard,
that.
because we're shamed thinking, because when we're isolated in those things, we can never see that anyone else is going through the same thing, because we're like, well, my pastor always says it this way. We kind of have this woe is me, nobody does it but me, nobody going through it but me. You're like, bro, yeah, we all going through it, because we, especially as men, we first and foremost, we're not taught how to communicate. My 6-year-old, please don't judge me. I have a 6-year-old. All this great. I'm not supposed to
I
I
do
got
too. I look.
okay, okay,
I got a
okay.
6-year-old
But
little
see,
girl. So
I got a 31-year-old, a soon to be 24, and a 6. That's too far in
Ooh.
between. I know.
You weren't done. You weren't done.
She has a whole conversation by herself. I put her in the bathtub one day, and she and her dolls, she had about 5 dolls in there, and she was just having this whole conversation. I thought there were 10 other people in there. Just she was fussing and da 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 da. I'm like, who are you fussing at? You put a boy in there, he's gonna make noise. He's there,
Right.
and so when you get that differences of that, they start off young, and teaching men and young boys at an early age what's wrong, what's bothering you. Please share. Use your words. Let's talk this out. Too often we like, oh, shut up, suck it up. But and then we wonder
Yeah.
why when we get to adults, we struggle with expressing ourselves because we weren't allowed early. So you got 15, 20 years of you being told to shut up, man up, all these other things. And now you're like, I'm in a relationship. I'm supposed to be talkative and share my emotions. I don't know
Yep.
about you. You see that same challenge on the East Coast and in the South, bro.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's you have to talk. Like I will say,
Yes.
I love both my parents. I'm definitely a mama's boy,
Okay.
and my mother and I are very close. And both of my parents provide. They're both social workers, so I grew up in this
Oh,
environment
okay.
where we talk about a lot of things. And but mom always had a way of just kind of knowing what was wrong, and that was good in the beginning. But then it also later on developed to something's wrong. I'm not feeling right. I need to
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. We call mom.
Mm-hmm.
And what you have to learn is that you can't expect the other person just to read your mind. I love scrolling
Yes.
through on the gram and people are like, "Oh,
Right,
he
right,
should just
right.
know what I want." And I'm like, "No,
Uh-huh,
how
uh-huh.
you need to trust me, dudes, women, everybody. We are all going through it. We have a lot of stuff on our plate.
Right.
If you want something specific, a closed mouth don't get fed. Like you need to
That's
open
right.
up and express that. And we too often we don't do that, especially as men. I think we're
Right.
so worried about how we're going to come off and look and appear
Mm-hmm.
somehow
Mm-hmm.
talking about your feelings seems
Mm-hmm.
less manly. And I don't
Oh, that's
know.
good. That's good.
I mean, that's been my experience. And then you
Mm-hmm.
go through, like, at this point, I'm so blessed to like discover Bruce Lee,
Mm.
discover even some of the stuff that Mike Tyson's talking about. And you're talking about people you nobody would
Yeah.
question their
Yeah.
manliness, but these
Right.
guys, now Bruce Lee was a very deep dude, very in tune with
Yes.
his feelings. His
Yes.
martial arts was
Yes.
an expression of his philosophy. He was a philosophy major. And
Wow.
so I'm like, wow, like that's who I want to be. I want to be like Bruce. Like I want to be like
But you
that.
say something
And
real
I want
interesting,
that to be
Dr.
the
Chris. Yeah, no, go ahead. You want that to be kind of
I
the
want that to be the new cool. I want that to be the
Yeah,
new cool.
I love
This
it.
whole, cowboy Marlboro man, you know, nah, nah.
Yeah, yeah. But you say something interesting when you're talking about Bruce Lee and even to a certain extent Mike Tyson, because these were athletes and no one ever puts martial arts in this athletic category. However, it requires a lot of discipline.
Yes.
And when you're dealing with that, you have time to process. Now, Dr. Danielle here, what's up, Danielle? You're talking about I'm not an angry black man. I get it, but listen, I'm glad you're not. But some of us have some challenges with being labeled as, and even if we're not an angry black man, we're often perceived and labeled as that, especially
Yes.
because if we raise our voice, whether it's out of excitement or not, we're often quickly labeled, and then therefore we're responded to by society, or society responds to us from that label. But I love what you're saying, Bruce Lee. What is it that about practicing? I don't want to necessarily say discipline, but practicing grounding for men that is so important so that we can manage our emotions. Because you talk about how to use, I'm using your words. You says, brothers, we do have brothers who know how to manage their emotions, and a real brother knows how to manage his emotions. Talk to me about that saying about managing our emotions, especially when we're expected not to manage them.
You, too often, I think people think of, in my experience, people talk about anger, especially anger.
Hmm.
Nobody feels like they need help managing joy. Uh, you
Right.
know,
Oh,
uh,
that's good.
And even though anything, I just kind of believe in this whole theory of just things have a balance to them, and too much
Hmm.
of anything or not enough of something is going to be bad. And just having
Hmm.
discipline to do that, the
Hmm.
discipline, the tools, it's the
Right.
routine. And I think
Right.
it turns around. I love analogies, and I love
Hmm.
taking things that seem unrelated and kind of putting them together. And it's
Hmm.
like these athletes, Mike Tyson,
Hmm.
Kobe,
Yes.
things
Yes.
like that. They get that great because it's the routine. And you could
Mm-hmm.
be that great too if you started on
Right.
your routine. Like, and so
Routine.
you have to one acknowledge that this is an issue. This is a part of your game, so to speak, that
Mm-hmm.
you want
Mm-hmm.
to improve. And then it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let me go and find the tools that I need to go ahead and do that. So I think too often we're just not,
That's good.
we don't have a routine. We don't want to admit that we have a problem because
Mm-hmm.
we're afraid that that makes us look crazy or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And I'm not crazy. And I think most of the, I don't like that word. I don't really like a lot of
Right.
labels to begin with, anyways.
Right.
I'm
Right.
really more interested in the person and their journey, and then
That's it.
how the
That's
pieces
it.
of the
That's it.
puzzles come and fit together. And I'm like,
Come and
of
fit
course,
together.
this is how
Yeah.
you got here. So,
Yes.
yeah, I think all of that, managing your emotions. I'm not just an angry black man. I'm a happy black
Mm-hmm.
man. I'm a healthy black
Yes.
man. I'm a loving black
Yes.
man. I'm all of that. Do I get angry sometimes? Yeah. But the
Of
goal is,
course.
like, you need to learn how to appropriately express that anger. Anger is not a bad
Yes.
thing. I
Right.
jokingly say it's like anger is a lot like tequila. Like, it's not innately bad, but it's what you do under its
With it.
influence
Mm-hmm.
is what's going to
Mm-hmm.
yield you your good or bad results. So you
Right.
have to learn,
Right.
and we didn't get that. And I personally think, coming from slavery, this is a conversation my
Yes.
mom and I talked about. Like, we have a generation now where people have an opportunity to do what they like and be successful and make a living and feel good about it. You go back,
Mm-hmm.
we're not that far removed from slavery. Like,
Right.
they didn't have that luxury. The context was
Mm-hmm.
different for them. It was really more
Exactly.
about surviving, and you find your happiness where you can. And we survived, and
Mm.
now the kids can go to school. Now they can go to college.
Mm-hmm.
Now they can do these things. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
how I see how we got here. But
Mm-hmm.
then how can a lot of black men expect to know how to express themselves when their daddies didn't know how to do it? Their
Oh,
granddaddies
that's
didn't know
good.
how to do it.
That's good.
They
That's
can't give you
good.
something that they never had. And so we
Right.
have an opportunity to set a new trend. And to me, I feel like that's the ultimate success, to be able to do what you
Mm-hmm.
want to do, what makes you feel good, help people, make a
Mm-hmm.
living. And to me, that's what makes
Mm-hmm.
the ancestors who went through all the trials smile and say it was worth it.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. That's so good because I agree. We often I think a lot of our emotions, because I do believe in this whole generational. We can teach our children anxiety. We can teach
yeah,
our children depression. By the same token, we can teach them, like you said, we can teach them joy. We can teach them happiness. We can teach them how to live fulfilled lives and not be so, not hanging on to the past so much. And and
yeah.
and I told you, man, I've been following you. You talked about we have to stop being a victim. Come on, I'm using your
Ooh,
you. Oh
ooh.
yes, you called it the anger management. What did you call that? I can't read my own writing. Um, but anyway, you talked about the anger management tip that you wanted to give that day, and you said stop being
yeah,
the victim. Talk to us,
yeah.
black man. How do black men stop being? Because we are the victims of so many things, but how do we stop being the victim of perpetuating anger?
I think with the whole pro tip about stop being a victim, it's I got it from I read somewhere. It's like, be the hero of your own story, and that
Love
just
that.
kind of made me sit and think for a second. And
Yes.
I think it was the connecting, like, it was a Will Smith movie. I think it was Focus. I never watched it, but in the preview, he
Hmm.
said in
Hmm.
life you can either be the hammer or you can be the nail. And to
Right.
me, it's like, well, which one do you want to be? Well, when you say it like
Hmm.
that, I want to be the hammer. Well, guess
Hammer.
what?
Uh-huh.
Victims, when we sit here, I think sometimes, even though it's not where we want to be, it's
Yeah.
comfortable to us.
Yeah.
I have this going on for me. I have that going on for me. And don't get me wrong, like life is sucks and life is shitted on all of us. And
Exactly. Exactly.
but you know what? That's life. That's a side
Yeah.
effect of life. You know, that's the
Yeah.
cost of it. But what are you going to do
Yes.
about it? And
Yes.
in sports, a lot of times, sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way, and what are you going to do? And sit there and pout about it? No, you got to keep. There's still time left on the clock. Like you got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So what am I going to
Mm-hmm.
do? What am I going to do about it now? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of not trying to be a victim, and as well as taking responsibility, because
Yes.
being a victim gives your power away and you don't
Mm-hmm.
realize it. You hear responsibility and you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, here we go. Here's this lecture.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, no, no.
Yes.
Taking
Exactly.
responsibility is taking your power back.
Mm-hmm.
This happened, I responded this
Oh.
way, and I didn't like it. So guess what? I have to own that. But guess what? I also have the tools and the power to fix it. So next time I'm in
Yes.
that situation, I can choose to do differently. But when you want to sit here and make excuses and point fingers and all of that, you never get to learn the lesson, and then you repeat it.
Yes.
History is, those who don't learn their history are doomed to repeat it.
To-
So
to- to- to-
that's
Okay. I don't want to skate past what you said. You said accepting responsibility is taking your power back. Come on, you better
yes,
drop some nuggets on us, brother. That's what I'm
yeah,
talking about. But in that we get so if I'm a victim or and I feel like the victim. And we don't necessarily have to be the victim because some of that is self-proclaimed and self um, uh, actualization of being the victim. But if I accept my responsibility, I'm therefore taking the power back for me to be in control. But I'm going to say it like you said. I'm taking the power back of managing my own emotions and therefore living my best life.
yep, no, absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely,
And it's work because if all I've known of being a victim is not accepting responsibility, there's a learning curve that we have to go
absolutely.
through. And relapse is possible, but we don't have to stay in relapse. We can heal and recover a lot quicker. That's a part of accepting responsibility. It's a part then I'm going to take action. I'm going to get into my plan, and those type of things as well. Man, you're working me. I love it. I love. But
No,
those are so good.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Okay, I got another one that you said. You said this thing about how we have this misconception that practice makes perfect, but you said
Oh,
practice makes permanent.
that's right. That's right.
Talk to me about that. Talk to us about practice makes permanent. That's good though.
So, this came from my experience as a physical therapist, and I used to say this to my patients, and usually, if you got this speech, it's because you hadn't been doing, you hadn't been doing what you're supposed to be doing,
Right. Right.
and but the thing is, I think we all, whether or not you know it or not, you're practicing
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think you just need to slow down and just acknowledge that. Like, what am I practicing?
Yes.
If you're
Yes.
practicing, if you're sitting on the couch eating, y'all don't have Bojangles out there, do y'all?
No, we don't have
If,
Bojangles. We don't.
if you're eating, junk food and all this other kind of
Right.
stuff,
Right.
and
Right. We got
watching
Jack in the
TV,
Box.
Jack in the Box, Jack in the Crack is what we used to call
Jack in the Crack.
it.
Listen, that was that 2-3 a.m. run where you come from having too
Look, I
much
know ATL
tequila
has.
to soak up all that tequila, brother.
Right, right. Exactly.
Yes.
Oh, you're familiar. But
Uh-huh.
that's what you're practicing. If you're practicing sitting on the couch watching TV, not doing anything, well,
Right.
guess what? That's
Right.
what you're becoming. That's what you're getting good at,
Yes.
and that's what's going to become
Yes.
permanent. And it would frustrate me so much because you see people who have this potential, and I'm like, you still have an
Mm,
opportunity to turn it around, and
yes.
they don't believe that, or they don't want to do it, or there's a variety of reasons. But I'll just say
Mm-hmm.
they don't believe it on a
Mm-hmm.
fundamental level where they feel
Mm-hmm.
compelled to start tapping
Mm-hmm.
into it, because you're right, it's work. It's work. Like
It
we're
is.
designed to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and use the least amount of energy while doing it. And so sometimes, even if something's dysfunctional and it ain't working for us, but it's my
Right.
go-to move. I have to learn a
It
new
is.
move. You mean to tell me I gotta work on my game? I gotta add a baby hook. I gotta be able to go to my
Yeah, yeah,
left
yeah.
and all this other kind of stuff. Then that's work, coach. I ain't trying to do that. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Pamela,
So
Pam, where you been at, baby? I've been missing you. Yes, how are you? Hope you are doing well. Not trying to be the victim. Pam, I hear
don't
you
do it.
loud and clear. Yes, yes. And Pam has been a faithful follower of mine for about 7 years, man. She's been on here showing
Awesome.
much love. Yes, yes. She's been out there. Give my love to the fam, Pam. But I love it, not trying to be the victim. You know, why is it as we as men? Because a lot of times when I get new clients, especially when I'm talking about black male clients, I'll ask them, "Have you done this thing called therapy before?" And they're like, I always thought, therapy was for the weak, and I never. So I said, "Well, so since you don't like that term, it's all psychological." I said, "Well, how about if I just become?" And you can usually tell if we're talking about just a mental health, mental wellness versus severe mental illness. That
Right.
bipolar. Got to get with the YouTube. Yes, Pam, get with the YouTube, baby. We over there here now. So make sure you subscribe, and then you'll get the message every time. And so I said, how about if I just become your life coach? And then
Okay.
all of a sudden, their whole demeanor changes.
Yeah.
I said, well, tell me
Yeah.
what a coach can do. I said, because coaches actually do more things that maybe I as a therapist wouldn't do. Because a coach, you said a coach can yell at you. Now, I'm not going to just yell at you, call you stupid or anything like that, but I will challenge your behavior patterns. Because if you're doing a pattern a certain way in sports, but if you're not getting the results, my job as a coach is say, dog, pull that arm in, keep that head low, when you're running. So because my job is to get the maximum out of you. So that you
Yes.
are realizing your full potential. And Dr. Chris, you'd be surprised as soon as I say that, the light bulb goes right on and they get comfortable with
Right.
that. But yeah, uh, and so when you're talking about changing, not becoming the victim, but changing our behaviors, changing the way we think, changing, I say it this way, Dr. Chris, changing our stinking thinking in a
Yes.
different way so that now we can recognize those triggers and everything. Yes. Pam says, about to set up a thank you. The men need to hear this discussion. Pam, I love it. You got all
I
those
love
men
it.
in your house. That's right. That's right. Um, yes. Why is it so that we can do the sports analogy, but we struggle with mental? And I'm going to go here because as a physical, I love this. A doctor, you do physical therapy. You're a functional movement specialist. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes, that's correct.
Right,
That's
right.
correct.
Why is it that we struggle with our mental and medical wellness, but if we're talking about doing sports or chasing some skirts or doing some other, is a whole different platform. Why do you think we have struggles as black men dealing with some of those analogies and basics?
I I I think we struggle with that because, well, let me answer it this way. Like I think we struggle.
Okay,
It's we all want to be Kobe, Emmett
Kobe.
Smith,
Yeah.
or whatever. These that's somehow manly. That's
Yes.
desirable, and those are the things that we want to do. But what you don't know, the irony, the irony is that Kobe meditates. Kobe does
Yes.
these things. There's all these things like you ought to want to do therapy. Well, you know what? You can
Right.
call it whatever you want to call it. Like I'm teaching you a new skill. Obviously, you're here because you're not performing the way that you want to perform, and
Mm-hmm.
we need to kind of like in sports, we need to go back and look at film and
That's
say,
good.
okay, What happened here? Why did you do this? What was going on in your head? These are all the things, and it becomes more easily
Yes.
digestible that way. Okay, if now you feel like you're like Cam Newton or somebody, you're like, oh well,
Yeah.
coach,
Yeah.
I thought the defense was going to do this, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
I responded that way. So then
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, well, what would you do differently? What do you think you need to,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the outcome? And
Talk to us, Dr.
that's really what it's about. It's almost like,
Yeah.
my mama, she would hate this, but she was like, sometimes you got to put some sugar with your shit. And
Yes.
if that's that's what it's going to take for you to
Right.
get the message, for you to get well, because I see the
Yes.
potential in you, and
Yes.
you're just caught on, you're hung up on the wording about it, and we
Mm-hmm.
can worry about that
Mm-hmm.
later. What I know
Yeah.
is that when
The
you make
semantics,
that
really?
shift,
Yes.
you're gonna feel so much better, and you're gonna feel like this. Like all. I've been
All
looking at
wrong.
this in a way that doesn't serve me, and
Yeah, that's
now I
that.
see
Yes.
kind of unlimited potential here. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's just, it's like, what, I don't know if it was those Mastercard commercials where it's like the cost of doing this, $12.99, the
Mm-hmm.
cost of doing that, $3.99. Being able to feel like you reclaimed
So
your
good.
power and having unlimited potential, man, that's priceless.
Yeah.
And so to
It
be
really
a part
is.
of a team that gives that to people, especially our men, because you're right, we're at the low end of the totem pole when it comes to our
Mm-hmm.
health, when it comes to life expectancy, when it comes to a whole host of things. But yet we've been through so much, and yet in a way, I mean this in a good way, it's like we're like roaches. Like, you can't get rid of us.
Mm-hmm.
You could blow the world up with nuclear bombs, and guess what? We still find a way to survive. When other species are annihilated, we just, okay, it's just another Tuesday. And so how
Mm-hmm.
can we take that
Mm-hmm.
resiliency and that black magic, in a good way, not black dark magic,
Yes.
but that, they
Right.
talk
Right.
about black
Right.
girl
Right. Right.
magic, but that black man magic,
Black.
all of
Black.
that,
Black.
and
Yeah.
use it
Yeah.
to our advantage. And that whole, man, that's an old stigma that came from somebody else. You learned that from your mom or dad,
Yes.
who learned that from your
Yes.
grandparents, who learned that from, and you got to
Yes.
look at the context in which they learned that
Mm-hmm.
in. I bet you now,
Mm-hmm.
if your grandma, great great grandpa were alive and they understood, they say, you know what, you might need to go talk to that man, because
Yeah.
if they're gonna help make you better, then yeah, that's all you got to
Then we
say.
want to
Like,
go
I'll
for it.
help make you better. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
So
and I think that's right. And that's what I'm saying. Like I had I was sharing with you earlier in the pre-show about this black man who had come in and how he had had a stroke, and how his blood pressure was just crazy. I was sharing what 193 over 140. I'm like, dog, you're a dead man walking. And
yeah,
his anxiety when I did the GAD-7 with him, anxiety through the roof. It was high. I was like, Then I did the right. He had a perfect score on anxiety. That's not good.
yeah. I nailed it. No, you didn't.
Right, right, like yeah. Yeah, we nailing nailing your coffin if we don't change this around. And then his
Right.
his depression scale was almost equally as high. I'm like, your measurements, your mental health tools, are through the roof. Your physical health tools are through the roof. And we had talked about earlier in the pre-show about the lights in our body engine going off, but yet we're still ignoring the signs. Why do we care more about our raggedy car than we do our beautiful bodies when we keep ignoring the signs?
I think the cars are. Somebody said this. They say men kind of define themselves by what they
Mm-hmm.
do. And by an extension, your car, always, another analogy, like in the wild,
Uh-huh.
wild west, your car is like your horse. It's an
Right.
extension, it's a
Right.
representation of you. I know Tony's here because I see his car,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And so we'll care more about that because you can get props for that. It might
Yeah.
be attractive to the ladies, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
People don't think it's, I journaled for a whole half hour 3 times this week. You go spit that
Right.
line to a lady, and guys don't think that that's going to be that's just not going to play. They'd rather say
Right.
I drive a BMW.
Hmm.
And but what you
But you're
don't
about to
know is
blow a
that
gasket.
right, you don't know that, and but it's clean though.
Uh-huh.
What is like on Friday,
Right,
like they
right, right.
tens, but
Look
I keep
good.
them clean though. like,
Yes,
and so
yes.
it's one of those like you rather look good than actually be good.
Be
Once
good.
again, I would say in that it's less threatening. You know, going my whole thing
Mm,
with when I work with people,
that's
I
good.
say I'm a big proponent of like the beliefs that you have,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
you inherit most of these beliefs you have. You inherited those from other people, and
Yes.
until you don't think about it because, well, where until you're faced with a situation, and then you're like, where did I get that from? Oh man, I got that
Hmm.
from my mama. If you talk to mama,
Hmm.
your mom probably got that from somebody
Yep.
else, and then
Yep.
you're like, okay, well, I need to switch that. That's not working for me
Hmm.
anymore. Okay,
Hmm.
but I think somehow we feel like it's some kind of we throw all this other stuff. I'm betraying my family and all this other kind of stuff.
Yes.
So it's just easier just to set this over here and just not deal with
Hmm.
it. And then, yet
Hmm.
you're still suffering. You're
Hmm.
talking about your patient. You're having a stroke. You're
Yes.
having pain. Like these are all
Yes.
signals. These are all signs that something is wrong. And yet, what do we do? I mean, part of this is kind of a cultural thing because we tend to think
Hmm.
like pain is for the weak. Only weak people feel pain.
Hmm.
And don't really
Hmm.
even the commercials for like Bayer and ibuprofen, like don't let pain stop you. No, pain is trying to tell you something ain't right. Something ain't right up in
Yes.
here. Like, and you might need to
Yeah.
take a second,
Exactly.
breathe, and address this. What's going on? And then if I don't have an answer, well then who do I need to go to? Go to the right person. Don't talk to your butcher about your
Yeah.
about your
Yes.
cholesterol, maybe not about your knee pain. Go
Exactly.
talk to a physical therapist. Go talk to an orthopedic. Go talk to somebody who deals in that, who that's their wheelhouse. That's in their wheelhouse, I should say.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Curly Palmer. Hey, Curly, good to see you. Thank you for always supporting on the Black Man Made Well channel. Appreciate you. And then Dr. Hill, we see you on the Black Man Made Well channel as well. But you're absolutely right when we're doing these. How to pay attention to our bodies and looking at and the lights going off, because too many of us have the check engine light going off, the tires, we need air in the tires, we're about to run out of gas. And I was sharing in my car, it says you are 1,200 miles past your next service. Do you want to call now, call later, or just delete? I keep hitting call later, call later,
Right.
call later. But how many of us keep doing that, especially as Black men, ignoring that all the lights are on, and you say you can hit call later all you want to, but sooner or later you're about to be on flats for real. I'm not going to
Yeah.
move. We're going to break down, and it's going to happen at the most critical time in your
Yes.
life.
Yes.
And and
Yeah.
and then we do become angry. We're
Right.
angry at the situation, we're angry at ourselves, we're angry, and then, like you said earlier, it's going to cost us way more in the maintenance than it did if we had done the preventative measures to keep it, make sure we're healthy and strong.
No,
Yes.
absolutely. It's like listening to you. I was thinking. I saw this, and it was a good explanation about like why we get angry, and it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like you are like this well,
Uh-huh.
and you can only hold so much. And I can see
Yes.
how we're in this predicament. What happens is that stuff happens, and it gets a little higher, and it gets a little
Mm-hmm.
higher. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't express it, if you don't address it, if you don't talk about it, it just gets a little higher, gets a little higher. So when it overflows and it spills out and we can't control it anymore, and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
the Tasmanian devil, and we act like this happened all of a sudden. No, this had been happening this whole time. It happened when you didn't talk
Yes.
about the trauma that you dealt with, growing up. It happened
Yeah.
when you're, what did it say? When you are silent, when you keep the peace, like you start the war
Yes.
within. And we are
Yes.
so, come on, we are so good at that. I don't want to say
Mm-hmm.
anything because it's going to be an issue. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
Freedom lies on the other side of the difficult conversation, and it's awkward.
Ooh. You better keep.
But you,
Wait a minute, that's a mic drop. That's a mic drop. That's a mic drop. We don't want to miss that. Freedom lies on the other side of the difficult conversation. Woo! Come on. Come on. Listen, so the reason I had to let folks know with changes I'm going through, my broke down car is the least, come on, of my worries. Matters of
right.
my mental health have to come first. Pamela, I could not have said it better
Yeah.
right there. That's right.
Yep.
Freedom
Yep.
lies on the other side of the difficulties and controversy. Man, that if listen, that's a mic drop. That's a mic drop right there. But we as men, we have the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn type of attitude with that. And too often we'll get in that and never deal with the heart or the elephant in the room because of maybe childhood traumas or this is the way my father always did it and this is the way his father and I saw my uncle do that. And in fact, they told me to shut up and not deal with just and so all of this, I always say it this way, I just happen to have a Coke can here. Don't judge me.
It's all
You know,
good.
we have this shaken Coke syndrome. Shut up, don't say anything. We don't say anything, we get skip, and then all of a sudden, the slightest, yep. And I would say this way too, Dr. Chris, we're imploding first internally before we explode second externally. Because the bubbles are already on the inside because with each shake, it gets stronger and the pressure gets stronger.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then
And
so we're doing damage to not just ourselves, but everyone around us as well.
yeah. And I think that's why it's so devastating or it's so difficult, especially when it comes to anger, because
Yes.
after you have that explosion, that
Mm-hmm.
tantrum, that's what
Yeah,
I call these adult tantrums or these
it
outbursts. And
is.
then you're like, man, I acted a damn fool. And it's like,
Right.
I knew it wasn't even about what
That's the
this was,
part.
what it would have happened. And it's like, man, I showed my ass and now I'm
Yep.
feeling all kinds of shame. And I hope they don't call me out on it because that's just going to
Mm-hmm.
be really uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not careful, this is why I say I also work with the person who has the anger issue, but then there's also the
Right.
person and the other person in that relationship
Right.
where
Right.
you need to hold them accountable because if you let that slide, then all of a sudden you've set a precedent that this is
Mm-hmm.
how we're going to do it. And then next time you get a little
Yes.
closer to trying to hold them accountable, they're going to be like, oh no,
Mm-hmm.
don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That was so uncomfortable. That was
Mm-hmm.
so embarrassing. You're going to bring that up. But it
Yes.
takes more energy. Seek pleasure, avoid pain,
That's right. Oh,
use the least
come
amount
on.
of energy.
Come on.
And so it takes more
Yes.
energy to find the words to identify those feelings and then express that. That's hard. It's just easier to
It
yell.
is.
We've all been out shopping at Costco or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, and we've all seen the little toddler have a meltdown and
Mm-hmm.
throw a tantrum, hit their parent, all that other kind of thing. We don't need practice at how to do that. That
We
that
don't.
behavior
That
came
just happens
installed.
innately. Uh-huh.
Right. What we need practice at least in that kid's defense,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have the words, they don't have the
Right.
vocabulary to express
Right.
themselves, but you
Right.
do. What's your excuse?
Yes.
Yeah, and so
That's good.
yeah,
That's good. Yeah, and I love that because you're right. We are having these adult temper tantrums, and because it spills out on everything else. You're right. We now are embarrassed about that, and then we don't know how to recover from it by saying, you know what, I'm sorry, because a lot of it, you're right. We're deflecting something else, some other things that we unresolved. And one of my boys, Danny Ross, talks about the messages we carry. We're carrying too many negative messages and
Yes.
dumping them all at the wrong person instead of dealing with them in their individual silos, so
Yeah.
that I'm not taking out my frustration on Dr. Chris when you're just trying to get me physically back functioning well, and you're massaging that pain, that that tender area, and I'm just
Right.
now going off on you, mother. Don't you know?
Right.
You're like, Doc, wait, I'm just trying to help you out.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
I, d-
yeah.
I don't even take it personally because it's like, at first you're
Oh,
like, did
that's
I do
good.
something wrong? And then you go through it a bunch of times. You're like, this ain't about me.
It's
This is
not.
you. Energy is
Ooh.
created nor destroyed. It's just transferred from one, vehicle to
Ooh.
another. And so those unresolved feelings in that well, they carry energy. And if you're not doing something to appropriately channel it, it's going to it's going to come out. You can't,
Yes.
you can't you can't avoid the physics of things.
Dr.
And
Chris,
we
you're
think,
killing me tonight because you're dropping some nuggets on us. But you're absolutely right when you're talking about if negative energy enters the body. Talk to us from a physiological aspect of that. How does it affect us, our body, our physical health, negative energy, all those negative emotions? What do you see in your practice, how it has affected us physically?
what I see is, it's this negative energy, especially it's
Hmm.
energy if we perceive it as negative, and then we're gonna
Yes,
have respond to it that way. Your heart
right.
rate's going to go up. It's going to impact your
Yes,
breathing. It's going to impact your
yes,
stress,
yes,
which can impact your cortisol levels. And if you're in this
yes,
constant state of kind of fight or flight, that's not fight or
yes,
flight was designed to help keep us alive in case of a saber-toothed tiger, jumps out. But
right.
now, if you're not dealing with it, you're always kind of on this constant alert, and that's
Yeah.
not good. Like it's once again, I'm a big proponent of balance. Like you need the
Hmm.
sympathetic, but then you also need the parasympathetic. You need to rest and
Yes,
repair and digest, and you never
yes.
get an opportunity to do that. And so a lot
Mhm.
of chronic ailments can stem from that, and it's really
Totally.
because you're not addressing some of these negative energy. And sometimes it's not even it's a misinterpretation of something. And when you go and
Mhm.
talk about it with that, how many times you're like, oh, I thought you said this. Like, no, man, I said that. And then you were so mad
Yes.
about it. And then once you realize it wasn't the way you thought it was, it didn't match up with the story that you kept telling yourself. And once you
Yep.
realize it, then it's like all of that pain goes away instantly. But you have
Yes.
to have freedom lies on the other side of that difficult conversation. You have to have that conversation first. And if you never do it, then you're going to be walking around carrying this grudge about something when it was really a misunderstanding. And it could have been easily resolved in a lot of times. So, yeah, that
I hear
negative
you. 'Cause
energy
too
is
often, yeah, that negative energy is killing us. And then when we're listening to respond as opposed to listening for complete understanding, if I'm listening for understanding, they're gonna say, Dr. Chris, so what I heard you say was X, Y, and Z. Am I right? You have an opportunity to say, no, that ain't exactly. That's not at all what I said. They're
absolutely
like, oh, my bad. Okay, what did you say? Let me
right.
listen again because I totally missed it.
Right.
And that can resolve. I would even veer to say over 50% of our challenges as we're dealing with anger. Let me just get an understanding of exactly what you're saying, first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent. Dr. Chris, oh my God, we are almost at time here. Listen, you
Oh,
gotta come back.
wait.
You gotta come back, man, because I love this um integration of physical health, mental health, and how those two work so in tandem with each other. And if we're
Yes.
talking about our mental wellness, we cannot exclude our physiological health wellness as well, and all that comes about as a result of that. So let me ask you a couple quick questions before we leave today. What is
Okay.
your go-to for your own personal self-care?
Ooh, my go-to. So I am music. Music's my go-to.
Ah,
Like in
okay.
addition to being a physical therapist and a functional movement coach, and
Uh-huh.
coaching people on how to manage their emotions, I love music, and so I DJ on the side. It was
Okay.
something that started out as a hobby, and
Uh-huh.
I'd always wanted to do it. So
Right.
my name is DJ Cold Sweat, and
I
so
love it. I love it.
I I love just putting on some tunes and just vibing out, or really trying to put a mix together. That's a go-to. Breathing, running. I love going on
Mm,
a run, walk kind of thing.
yeah.
Getting a haircut, cutting your hair, doing
Okay.
something for you. A lot of times I'm like, I'm feeling
Yes.
off. And then I go and check and I'm like, when's the last time you made a mix? When's the last time you went running? When's the last
Mm,
time you cut your hair? When's the last time
your
you did these things?
checklist.
And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's been a while. Then I'm like, well, shoot, no wonder why you feeling all crazy. Like,
Right,
go
right,
handle
right,
that.
right.
And usually,
Yeah.
a lot of more times than not, you do it. And sometimes the challenge is life is life, and you
Hmm.
can schedule stuff. Yeah. DJ Cold Sweat.
Yeah. Yeah. Break you out a cold
So
sweat. That'll be good to chill you
yeah,
off from the anger.
yes.
Yes, man. Yes.
But
How
some of
do
my
we
go
follow
tos.
you, Dr. C? How do we follow you? Because
So
you brought us such a great wealth of knowledge.
I am on Instagram. It's Doctor, so it's Doctor period Chris period I period am Dr. Chris I am. Kind of like how Will I
Okay.
am does his
Uh-huh.
kind
Uh-huh.
of separates his name with
Okay.
the
Okay.
periods.
Yes.
So you can
Okay,
follow me
Dr.
on
Chris, I am.
Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And there, I have my personal Facebook page that's public. It's Chris Williams. And then
Okay.
there's Progressive Transformations has a page you can on Facebook as well, so you can follow us there.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, those are pretty much where I'm hanging out currently.
Love that. Love that. Well, man, listen, Dr. Chris, I can't thank you enough for coming on this show tonight. I'm honored that you would come on and be with us, but definitely here to tell you this ain't going to be the last time. And when I'm in the North Kakalaki area, I'm going to definitely give you a call, man. Love North Carolina. Last I was in Charlotte about 2 years ago. Got to come back out there and hang out in Charlotte. Love that area.
Yeah,
Haven't been in Greensboro for a minute, but yes.
yeah. We'll get some barbecue and some Bojangles.
Hey,
And
listen,
then we'll go.
I'll
Then we
take
got
the
to go for a
barbecue.
run or something like that. He was
Oh,
like,
oh,
"Nah, I
okay.
ain't
I,
messing with the
I, I got to
Bojangles."
get in shape for that. I'll be like, I left my running shoes. So sorry.
Well, I got you. I got you. I'm a
You
PT
got
and
me?
a functional movement coach. I got you, man.
Uh,
Like, no worries.
okay, okay. I love it. Listen, y'all, we want to give a shout out to Dr. Chris. Thank you so much for coming on here tonight. Listen, Dr. Chris dropped some amazing knowledge on us tonight. He says there's freedom on the other side of a difficult conversation. I'm here to tell you there's definitely freedom in that, and that we need to free ourselves from a lot of this anger, this isolation, this feeling that we are alone. We are here to tell you, and Dr. Chris told you, you are not alone, and we need to create these safe spaces. So how do we do that? I'm so glad that you asked these questions. We never want to leave you without some resources that you can go to support you along this mental health journey. Here's some mental health resources that we suggest that we want to give you. If you are experiencing any type of crisis, you can type crisis to 741-741. There they have some trained mental health professionals there to help you through your crisis and get you to what you needed help that you need at that time. Please check out Psychology Today, where you can find therapists that look like you and that can help you out. Therapyforblackmen.com therapyforblackteenstherapy.com. Amazing resource that I'm on, so many others. And therapyforblackmen.com is also offering scholarships to those Black men who cannot and may be struggling with paying for some of your therapy sessions. Goodtherapy.com, another wonderful resource that you can look at and look at therapists that look for therapists that look and resemble like you. And you can look at their pictures and see their profile. And of course, marcelconsulting.com here in Southern California. So please, we don't want you to not have those necessary resources so that you will be able to get the necessary help that you need. But also check out our website at mentalhealthmarty.com. There you will find some amazing items in there to support you along your mental health journey so that you know that you are doing all right. We have this wonderful journal, Stop the Stinking Thinking. That is a writing journal, and the book for that is anticipated to come out on Father's Day of this year. And so excited that my children's book, we're looking at releasing that on Easter of this year. So please stay tuned because it's dealing with children who are secretly suffering in silence. We have the Black Mental Health Matters t-shirt that comes in an amazing t-shirt. What does it also say? Black Men Matter. And we also have the hoodie for those of you who are still experiencing some cold weather that will keep you warm on these cold days. Again, as I always say each week, we don't want you to continue to secretly suffer in silence in the shadow of shame, but we want you to speak up, speak out, and live. But more importantly, don't be angry, but learn how to enjoy your life. We'll see you next week. Take care and God bless.